Imagine it's 1975 and you're in the market for a new radio. Come and join me in my time machine as we take ourselves back to a Saturday morning in June 1975. We want to replace that old Bush TR-82 that sat in the kitchen since the 1960s with medium wave and long wave. We want a transistor radio with FM, VHF. What could we get? Join me as we go to the high street in our Cortina GXL and see if we can purchase ourselves a brand new premium radio. Can you imagine if you was a company rep? You've had a good bonus and you've got money is no object and you can buy any radio on the market that you would like to buy. We're going to look at 4 radios here and see what sort of choice that person would have had. So please join me on my time machine as we go back to 1975 when music was funky and woke meant when you got up in the morning. Okay, we've arrived at Rumbelows and we're looking along the shelf with all the lovely radios that are offered for sale. We've walked past the cheaper brands, Fidelity or brands from Japan, and we're going to the premium British radios that are on the shelf. And in front of us here, we come across a Hacker Hunter, RP38A. So we'll switch the radio on and see what we think.
Amy, because I am going to go to the other line because Michael in Swansea is on the line. And just take a listen to this before I say good morning to Michael, okay, Amy? Have a listen to this. You and everyone listening. Here we go. What is going on here? Oh my goodness, there's no rhythm.
Okay, sounds quite well. We look at the radio itself. We have nice wooden end caps, has a extruded aluminium speaker grill, a vinyl type covering on the top, a Perspex station tuning scale, a type of aluminium caps on the radio knobs, and the vinyl back, which just clicks out so we can look inside. Inside you can see the 2 PP9 batteries, 9 volts, which power the radio set. I believe it has 2 circuits, one for FM and one for AM, so each battery powers each circuit. Anybody can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. It's very complex and I'd hate to be an electrician in the 1970s trying to fault find on that. We're currently on VHF.
Or was it just like your experience?
Trying to avoid the music stations.
I just applied because I thought it would be a bit of a laugh because I snore horrendously. I thought it might be a competition, but no, it wasn't a competition in the end. We were all different kinds of
we've got the
whereas I had sleep apnea.
And bass control.
The 4 others had different types of snores.
Somebody talking on the phone on the radio.
Different ailments. So,
yeah. Amy, come in here, please.
We'll work ourselves up through the tuning scale very quickly, avoiding all the music.
You can actually and record your
After the cry.
This radio will pick up smooth radio, which is probably well representative of the sort of music you would have picked up in 1975. Medium wave, which we don't need the telescopic aerial for. And sadly in the UK, medium wave, long wave, you're not going to pick up much these days.
The bottom line is going into dressing rooms, and I'm at the first one
where we can find a solution to this. And Jane, I'm so sorry to hear what you're saying. I fully appreciate it. I speak to my constituents all the time, and I get
scratchy there.
To get to that moment, the cable car and reaching the top of the mountain, Tricia.
Which the only station I can get on with now is BBC Radio 4.
At school in Aberystwyth when I was 13. And I was really nervous because
We're going to nip across the high street now and look at Curry's and see what they've got. Possibly we're now thinking that we don't want to spend all our hard-earned bonus from our job as a rep on a premium radio. We want a good quality radio, but we want to save a few bob. Maybe you want to treat your wife to a meal at the local Burnley Inn, and you're thinking that you could buy a nice radio and do that and still have a few pounds in the pocket. So we're going to look at the Roberts R606. Now this was first introduced in 1974 as the R606, and that ran to 1975, and that was a battery model. Later in 1975 came out the Roberts R606 MB for mains battery. So the front radio in brown is an R606, the red one in the middle is an R606 MB, and the black one is another R606. In my view, if I was to buy a radio in those days, I would probably have bought this set. And I'd highly recommend this set today. They sound good, there's plenty available on eBay, and they're usually pretty reliable. All these sets, none of them have been restored, they all work well, and I would recommend them. So the only one we're going to power up today is the brown one in front of us, the R606.
You're banned from the Radio Wells phone in, Andy. Thank you very much. Dan, it's lovely to talk to you. What are you up to at the moment, man?
I am, I'm still doing quite a lot of stand-up, so I'm still going around the country, and also written a couple of things, so we're going to have another series of a show I write on called...
Like the other sets that we're looking at today, they have bass and treble control.
Much indeed, lovely to talk to you. Keep up the great work.
VHF,
Comedian Dan
medium wave
Thomas,
and long
good
wave,
man.
and you have AFC, auto frequency control, which if you press that while you're tuning the station, then release it, it'll lock onto the station. So we'll just have a quick scan through the tune scale.
Seems I was the somehow.
Unfortunately, nobody's talking at the moment. But you get an idea of the sound quality on medium wave.
Turn this Chelsea thing over because they're so weak mentally and physically, and that worries me. That really hurts me as well.
Let's get something right quickly as well on Chelsea. I mean, this thing that they've fallen off a cliff overnight. Yeah, okay. They
Quite a nice looking set. It's a similar sort of 1970s styling to it. A long wave. We've got BBC Radio 4 somewhere.
And unfortunately you do get people that are negative towards them and towards mums as well. But I think it's so important that we send out that message to people that, you know, we're here.
Looking at the R606 MB, you can see, like the Hacker, we've got wooden end caps. You've got an aluminium speaker grill, and it's like painted with little black stripes on the vinyl type covering, and the Perspex tuning scale with the push button and changing.
Can you tell our listeners what you discovered?
Yeah, I decided on my 18th birthday that I was going to trace my birth mother. It took me about 8 months to find her. I rang her and she said...
Not much to see inside when removing the base, which is what you do to replace the batteries. This takes 6 C-type 1.5 volt batteries.
That your mother had...
A nice looking radio. I think they're a great all-rounder. And as I said, if I had, I don't know what they cost, but the money in my pocket to buy one of these would be the radio I'd go for.
As well as a first that social worker telling you to deal with it.
Yes.
We're now walking down the high street and we're going to an independent retailer. White's Radio. It's been on the high street since 1938. Now this type of radio, a premium radio, would have been sold in a shop like that rather than your typical Currys and Rumblos sort of high street retailers. Roberts and Hacker were very much in support of their dealer network. So it's most likely that you would have only been able to buy a radio like this from a specialist independent sole trader. As you can see, cosmetically it's in good condition. You've got the wooden end caps, similar style front to the other radios we've looked at, a Perspex tuning scale, bass and treble control. We have the long wave, medium wave, short wave and VHF bands, and an auto frequency control. Very easy to use. The tuning station pointer is very easy to see compared to some of the hackers. So we'll switch it on and see what we can find. Trying to find somebody talking or a DJ. So far it's all music.
I'm not here, I don't know that I'm here. Sort of words to that effect, that he's not known at this prison and that they don't know that he's here. So I had a quick chat with him about the fact that he's an IPP. He says, yeah, I know, and I know he's been inside a long time.
Just turn the bass and treble up.
This is how IPP actually messes with
It's a lovely sounding radio, these.
And he generally agreed with me. He said that especially the ones that have been in for such a long time that have only had a short tariff.
Okay, we're now on medium wave.
This is a remarkable...
Not much to pick up on medium wave.
We'll start with 30 years, if you dare, have the audacity to question them about their financial dealings. But put all that to one side, and I think I actually do believe those are things of the past. I do actually think Man City are now operating in a very different way. Yeah. But as far as a football team is concerned, they are...
On long wave.
18 months, you know, they complain, they become angry, the mental health will be absolutely smashed to bits. They're going to be a risk to themselves, not necessarily to the public, but the prison service doesn't like these kind of people. Added to the frustration of serving years over what you should have done, it's difficult, but they become problematic, these people. They have a target on the back.
So this is the radio, a premium radio from Roberts. It's their top radio, really, that they produced in the 1970s. And this is the radio we will compare with the Hacker Sovereign 3. So if you wanted to empty your pocket out of all your hard-earned money, it would be this radio that would do that job very well. The radio would have cost you, in 1969, I believe it was launched at £34.50. But with reference to Vintage Radios London, the radio actually sold for £60 in the 1970s, which is a huge chunk of money. As you can imagine, it's around about £800–900 in today's value. Hacker Sovereign 3 RP72MB, first released in 1973. Okay, we're still in White's radio, and this time we're looking at the creme de la creme of all the radios that we looked at today. Now Mr. White has just put this radio on his shop counter, and he would very much like you to buy it. I'm sure he'd make a lot of commission if he made a sale. A Hacker radio in the UK is very well thought of today, as I'm sure it was back in the day. Hacker was a follow-on of the Dynatron brand, as far as I believe, and they basically made top quality radios. There was no expense spared. Looking in the back of the set, we have the battery holder, which holds 8 D-type batteries, each 1.5 volts. A lot of the circuitry is hidden, but you can see it's a premium radio, wooden case. And this radio, again, like the others, bar the Roberts 707, hasn't had any restoration, and is as I purchased it. I had to replace the aerial, which I managed to pick up an original Hacker aerial from a very tatty Black Knight, Hacker Black Knight radio. Now these radios are very heavy. They're not the easiest to walk around the house, especially when it's loaded up with all those D-type batteries. But in pride of place in your 1975 kitchen, it would have looked great and it would have sounded great.
As far as MP James Daly, he's been extremely vocal in the campaign to end IPP sentences.
The evidence is that the majority of people have seen a deterioration in their mental health due to a number of things, but one is the nature of feeling that they are in a sentence that is never going to end. And if that is the case, one can only think about the desperation, the isolation, the hopelessness of feeling.
Like the other radios we've looked at, we have bass control.
Thomas was being starved of his medication. So what would happen then? He would hear voices.
She should be able to pick up, hopefully.
The TV would talk to him. So
treble control.
I can't tell you how many times I think in their terms they call it smash up. He's smashed up, and I don't think through all fault of his own.
Obviously, if I was able to play music, you'd be able to hear that better.
I'm trying to make this is as a direct result of the IPP sentence.
I prefer the tuning scale on the Roberts R707. The tuning scale here is like a metal aluminium type tuning scale and screen printed markings on, which tend to wear off. This one's not too bad, but you'll see quite a few listed on eBay and the markings have worn off. And the other thing is, I find it hard to see the tuning pointer. On the Roberts it's very bright orange, and you can see it moving across the tuning scale. Seems to be picking up, not sure.
It's quite done 16 years ago.
When you've been
on a
trying
long way,
to
maybe.
campaign.
George Cyrno, llongyfarchiadau chi a mwyn hewch yn os yma fel cyngerd nawr yn dweud, siŵr gawn ni hanes hwnna to. A drio ni gael gafel ar Dafydd to i gael gair bach gyda fe ar ôl y gystadleuaeth hwyrach. Gawn ni weld be gallwn ni wneud fel criw bod y cothi ar dderchog. A diolch I ti Hugh am rannu hwnna gyda ni. Siŵr bod pobl yn ymfalchio ar teulu a ffrindiau oll arbennig. Reit, adnabod y dôn. Odych chi'n barod, bod y cothi at bbc.co.uk o'r e-bost 675.
It's Jess Glynn, you're listening to the Whatever Show on BBC Radio Wales. It's the big one, the big old show, yeah. This time every day, slapping a smile on the face of Wales and friend.
So the question is, which one of these radios would have you put in the boot of your Mark III Ford Cortina? I'd very much appreciate your views and comments in the comment section, and I hope you've enjoyed stepping back in time with me and looking at these vintage premium radios. It's a time now long gone in this modern world when we're in a throwaway society, but a radio like this, you would have spent all that money, and I'm sure you would have kept it and used it for years and years and years. And many of these radios have survived, which is evidence that people, even when they finish with them, put them away somewhere safe, pass them down the generations, because of course they spent an absolute fortune on these things. This radio, I believe in 1973, sold for something like £73, which again, I think it was about £800-900 in today's money. As a kid, when I was still at school, I used to go to people's houses I always had a fascination for radios, and I'd see radios like this and think, oh, I'd love to have one of those. But that was not the case. My radio was a Fidelity, a cheap brand. But I enjoyed it. I blasted out the tunes. I recorded the songs on my ITT cassette recorder. And it was a great decade. Just to end the video, if I was taking myself back in my time machine to a Saturday morning in June 1975, I probably had a bad month being a rep. I would have been driving my Ford Cortina Mark III L model, and I would have popped myself off to Curry's, and I might have mustered enough money together to buy myself a Roberts Rambler. Now this radio was first released in 1975, so it would have been brand new on the shelf, and I wouldn't have been able to afford this lovely Roberts R707. But I'd have been happy with this little radio. Roberts still make them, a very popular set, and another classic from the past. We'll just quickly switch it on.
Lazowski, who got to the quarterfinals last year, he's taking on Nophon Sankam of Thailand. Lazowski resumes.
It's a medium wave, long wave only model.
The bright start, breaks of 52 and 65.
George has loved to sit on a beach and laze around a bit more.
How was the session? Was it good, bad, indifferent, helpful or not, or so-so?
It was useful.
And
I struggled a little bit.
we'll put it up against the Roberts R707, and we can see the size difference.
Skeptic, and now you've had some actual life coaching.
I must say that while I was talking to him, I was thinking, yeah, maybe.
One of the good things about being back in the here and now is that all these radios in front of you are now affordable. Back in 1975, you would have had to have worked a long time, saved your money up to be able to buy one of these, unless you had a good high-flying job, or you was that rep who had a good bonus that month. But for the average person, most of these radios would have been out of their range. But today, if you go on an online auction site and search for the radio of your choice, plenty will usually come up. You'll pay more for the hackers. There are plenty of Roberts R707s for sale, but as I've previously mentioned, they have faults with the AF transistors and they are quite expensive to repair. You're probably looking about £80 to get it serviced on top of the radio price, unless you're one of those very clever people who can fix it yourself. But for me, I enjoy these radios. They're great fun. I'm very proud to have them all in my collection. Thank you for watching.